Hello. Today I'm going to break down the Sun Salutations. I'm going to do half Sun A, Sun A, and Sun B. When I first started doing yoga, I was just going to a yoga studio and just trying to pick up all the moves and the breath work and everything. And it took me a long time to realize how important it really was to do work with your breath. I mean, I would hear the instructor say it over and over again, and I was trying to, but at the same time, I was really trying to stay on their cue and not necessarily move along with my breath. And it wasn't really until I learned a little bit more of the poses and understood when I was supposed to do my inhales, my exhales, and which poses I was supposed to work through that. And so the Sun Salutations are meant to be our warm-ups. They're meant to like warm up our body, begin to get that heat in there, work with our breath, and start that moving meditation of breath and movement together. So I feel like as a beginner, if you can learn the breakdown of when we inhale, it's when we're lengthening, we're either reaching up to the sky, or we're doing our halfway lift, or we're doing an up dog. It's all about that expanding and stretching and lengthening. And then on our exhales, it's all about compressing and folding forward or twisting, or a lot of folds and twists. So I feel like when you can get the breakdown of Sun A and Sun B, as you're learning new poses, you'll know, okay, I should inhale and lengthen before I really dive into the pose, and that's what I'm going to do on my exhale. So that being said, I kind of did break down your inhales, exhales. Inhales is anything lengthening. So any of our reaching up is an inhale. Any, like I said, up dog, which as I go through the Sun Salutations, I'm going to say with the breath. So this tutorial is probably going to be a lot slower than what you would be doing in class. What I feel like happens a lot in class is maybe the instructor is going a little bit faster than maybe your breath is. And so what you end up doing is rushing your breath so that you can stay with the instructor rather than just slowing your practice down a little bit and just being a breath or two behind the instructor. So that's where you have to like kind of let that ego go. And that was hard for me being at the studio, being new to it. Just my ego that I have as is. I was a gymnast and a dancer, so I do have that kind of competitiveness. And I know it's not supposed to be competitive, but when you're first starting out and you're doing it for an exercise, I was doing it for sobriety and for helping detox out of drinking. So I was really like, I had a lot of pressure on myself, and I had a lot of these emotions anyways. So moving with the breath is extremely powerful. So I'm going to just break down, like I said, we're going to start with half Sun A. So we're going to start at the top of our mat. First pose is Tadasana, or mountain pose. So great way, starting from your feet, and we work all the way up. So I like to pick up all of my toes, spread them as wide as I can, really ground down in all four corners of my feet. And I feel like as I push on the outer edge of that heel to get that outer side, it automatically begins to light up my legs. So we want to also lift our kneecaps so that those quads engage. We're going to draw our tailbone down, which is going to actually lift our belly button in and up. So almost imagine that like my ribs and my hip points are coming together. So it's not just a sucking in of our belly, it's that engaging of pulling that energy in and up. So your core is engaged. You're going to roll your shoulders back and down so your heart is lifted. Our arms are energetically, though, the energy is coming out our fingertips. It's pulling our shoulders away from our head. So now that the crown of our head can really lift. So right now, all of my muscles in my body are working, and even my facial muscles, because I'm talking through this. So you're even squeezing the glutes, you're activating those quads, you're beginning to fire and tension up all of your muscles. So now on our next inhale is when you're going to stretch high. You're going to inhale, reaching up through your fingers. Your gaze is going to come towards your thumbs. So our palms are going to come facing one another. Now when we want to lift up, we don't want to pull our shoulders up by our ears. We want to still leave that space like we had in our mountain pose. So as we lift up, they're energetically lifting through our fingers, but we're still pulling and leaving enough room in our neck and our head. So it's the active in our arms, but not really in the neck. So we're reaching up on our inhale. And as we exhale, we're going to fold forward, engaging that belly, keeping it tight. We fold in half, letting our head be heavy. A halfway lift on the inhale. So So now in a halfway lift, let's bring our hands to our shins. Now we don't want to be like really rounded here, tucking our head and being like this. We want to I envision a tabletop. So I'm literally reaching the crown of my head forward as my tailbone goes back. It's going to light up all of your hamstrings, the whole back part of your body. I then pull my shoulders back again. Broadening across my collarbones is going to help flatten the back as well, as I'm lifting and pushing my hip bones back. And I'm going to just slightly tuck my chin. So I don't really want to uber be reaching here, and then I'm going to get a nice kink in my neck. If I tuck the chin a little bit and work on the crown of the head coming forward so I keep that nice long spine. This can be a great way to start stretching out our hamstrings. So that would have been one inhale to lengthen, and then we would fold forward again. On the inhale, we're going to reach up to the sky. And exhale to mountain pose. So now I broke down a lot of those moves in that. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to do it by breath, and I'm not going to have all of that instruction and all of those cues on how to hold that pose, especially in the halfway lift. But I see a lot of times when I'm teaching classes that the halfway lift is so rushed through. And I really do. It really is great to warm up our hamstrings, the back of our legs, and to get our abs and our core engaged, because that's what's ultimately holding you up is your bellies, your psoas, and the hamstrings. So all of these Sun A's, these are meant to warm up our body, like I said, beginning working with our breath. So they all build on one another. They gradually get harder so that we can gradually build that heat in our body. So that when we go to our standing poses, balance, and so forth in our practice, our muscles are warming up naturally, so it's easier for them to stretch, so we have less injury. All right, so mountain pose, arms down by your side. Breath in, reach up to the sky, and exhale, fold forward, flat back. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to shins, and fold, and sweep up to the sky. Inhaling all the way up to the fingers, and exhaling back to mountain. So that's half of Sun A. So we're going to do it again. Reach up, sweeping high, and folding forward. Halfway lift, long spine, and fold, and sweep up to stand, reaching up to the sky, and mountain pose. So now we're going to build onto that. So we're going to start to get down to the floor for the first round of Sun A. So I'm going to do the first half of Sun A, and then I am going to pause and I'm going to break down through Chaturanga and through our high to low push-up, because that's a really challenging thing, and I see for a lot of new people that come to the studio and come to work out, it's one of the most challenging ones for them, and a lot of them are doing it incorrectly, and if you continue to do it incorrectly, it's going to be bad on your wrists, your low back, and you're not engaging in building strength in the proper muscles so that you can therefore get harder or more challenging poses that are built on from that position. So we're going to sweep up, reaching up to the sky, and fold forward. Halfway lift, inhale. Now on your exhale, you're going to plant your hands and step back to high plank. Okay, so this is where you would normally take a breath in and hold. So first, let's just talk about high plank. So high plank, we want our shoulders right on top of our wrists. We don't really want to be more forward. It's going to be a lot on the pressure of your wrist crease. And you don't want to be too much far back like this with your bottom in the air. You're going to be doing more on your shoulders, and it's almost like a half down dog. This should be like a push-up position. So you're really pushing into your hands though, so maybe that you're puffing up your shoulders. The crown of your head is still working forward, trying to bring your gaze like towards the top edge of your mat. My heels are pushing back so that my glutes are engaged, my quads are engaged, and my belly is working. If all of those muscles are working, it's not so much on your wrists. So from high to low push-up, so you would lean forward on that inhale, and you would lower down halfway. Nothing would touch. Your elbows are drawn in. My crown of my head is reaching forward. I'm broadening across my collarbones. My heels are pushing back. My legs are engaged. And then I would come to upward facing dog by just turning my feet and lifting my chest. Now, That can be very challenging. You have to have a lot of upper body strength to go from high to low with a nice flat back. What I see a lot of the time in class is it says high push-up, lower down, and I get a lot of either just dropping, or it's a lot of snaking, or a lot of rounding down like this, which is a lot of pressure on that low back, especially if you're just kind of slumping down and not really engaging anything. So there's a couple of different ways that you can get down to your mat while still building strength. So from high plank, you can lower your knees down. Now keeping your tailbone drawn long. We don't want to come to tabletop position with our bottom out. We still want to keep that long spine. Our heart is still going to pull forward. Making sure our elbow creases are here because our elbows are still going to pull back. But we're going to just lower our chin and our chest. So we start in this nice flat back. And then I'm going to hinge at my waist and put my booty kind of in the air to protect my low back. And then I can snake through and do baby cobra. Cobra, I'm going to have my feet pushing down on the mat so much that my kneecaps lift. And I'm going to pull my elbows together so I open up my shoulders. And now I don't really want to have my neck kinked here either. So I'm going to bring my gaze more out in front of my mat on the floor, tucking my chin slightly. I'm using my low back and my belly to lift up. Not so much pressure in my hands. It's more of the action of pulling my elbows together, engaging the triceps in across my collarbones. From here, I can lower my forehead down. And you have a couple of choices. You can push back to high plank by turning your toes under, engaging your legs so much your kneecaps are lifted. Now I like to keep my chest down, and I can now lift up my bottom and then engages my belly. And on an inhale, push up all the way back. Now if that was a lot, you can go from forehead down. We're gonna push up to tabletop position, back to downward facing dog. So that would be your other, rather than pushing up to high plank, to go to down dog. So a couple different options. So you could or you can go from knees, chest, so you can go from your knees, high plank, and then we would just drop our knees down, and you can just curl those toes under, and maybe you just go right into like cobra, and you skip the chaturanga, but it is nice for those arms. So maybe you lower your knees, we just lower down halfway, working on that push-up part. So squeezing those elbows in. And then you can straighten those arms, lift those knees up for upward facing dog. Squeeze that belly in, hips go high for downward facing dog. And that's the other difference too. So if you go from upward dog, you're always going up dog to down dog. Whereas if I'm down in baby cobra, if I put my belly down on the ground and I'm in cobra, I have to get back up either to tabletop or to high plank and then go back. So I'm not just going from my back bend and then just like trying to snake up to down dog, so that you're gonna cause injury. So you gotta bring your forehead back down, either push up to high plank and then go back to down dog. And then you would step forward for a halfway lift, long spine, fold, and sweep up to stand. And hands come to your heart. Okay, so I broke that up. So that was really chunky. So now we're just gonna do it again. Sun A, flowing through just by breath without any of all of that description. I'm gonna do this first round. I'm gonna show if you lowered all the way down to your belly. I'm gonna do the breath work on what you would do to get back up to down dog. Then we'll do another Sun A where it's just straight high plank, low plank, up dog, down dog. So the more modified version, if we're building on our strength, if we don't have a lot of arm strength, and that's totally fine, you will gain it. Doing it the accurate way and lowering down your chin and your chest is gonna help actually engage those triceps. You're slowly building the muscles, activating them the right way, then you will be able to eventually just lower down to that low plank. You'll be able to hold it because your muscles are already so used to doing that action. So, full Sun A. This is gonna be the modified version if we're building our arm strength. So reach up on your inhale and fold forward. Halfway lift. High plank on that exhale. Take a breath in on your inhale, engaging everything. Exhale the knees, chest, chin down. Inhale for baby cobra. Exhale, forehead down. Curl those toes under. Inhale to high plank. Exhale to downward facing dog. Taking a big breath in, making some movements here. And exhaling it out. Inhaling. And exhaling. Looking towards your hands, stepping forward to the top on an exhale. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweeping all the way up. Exhale, mountain pose. Okay, next variation. Inhaling, sweeping up. Exhaling, folding forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, high plank. Inhale and hold. Exhale, lower down halfway. Nothing touches the mat. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. One more inhale. And emptying it out, exhaling it out, stepping forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweeping up to stand. And exhale to Tadasana. Sun A. So either one of those variations, when you're in class, when you know that you're in the beginning of class and you're starting that, you now know the breakdown. You can start to go at your pace with your breath like you should, but now that you know the poses, you'll feel a little bit more confident with that. So after Sun A comes Sun B. So chair pose, beginning on our, so inhale, chair pose, sinking those hips, arms reach up. You exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Now this time on the exhale, we go from high to low, all on one exhale. Inhale to upward facing dog. Now exhale, exhale, exhale. We step that foot forward, all on that one exhale. So on our inhale, we can sweep up to warrior one. Then we exhale back down. Lowering, all on that one exhale. Inhaling to up dog. Exhaling, stepping forward, all on the same exhale. So as you inhale, you're sweeping up. As you exhale, all the way down. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Big breath in. Emptying completely. Breathing in and letting go. One more. Inhale, look towards your hands. As you exhale, bend those knees, look forward. When you're empty, you're going to jump. Halfway lift on that inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, chair pose, sweeping up. Exhale, Tadasana. Okay, so that was a movement for every single breath. And it's starting to get a little bit more strenuous because you have those chaturangas up to down. So it is important to stay steady and constant with your breath. Because if you want to go a little slower, then you want to make sure that you extend your inhales and your exhales because you're only moving by your breath. So as you practice, that key is to try to slow. I'm a little more winded because I was talking through it, but to try to slow down your breath. Also, I've seen other versions of Sun B where it slows it down a little bit more. So I'm going to show a different version of Sun B where we kind of take an extra breath to step forward to get to that warrior. Because that's where a lot of people get tripped up. It's right from that, when you shift your hips to down dog, You're stepping forward all on that same exhale, so that when your next inhale, you're sweeping up. So I'm gonna do one more regular sun B, just by every breath you're supposed to go by. And then the next one, I'll do a modified version where you can add an extra breath in. And then you can always just take out the chaturanga in between. You can do a warrior and step back to down dog, and do the warrior on the left leg and step back to down dog, and eliminate the chaturanga in the middle. But if you're working on building the arm strength, you really want to keep that chaturanga in there. That's where I got so much of my arm strength, was the constant working on those chaturangas. And that, like I said, there's a purpose for these poses. There's a specific reason on why they put these sequences in here. So, mountain pose. Inhale, chair. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Now exhale, high to low. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, goes back, steps forward. Inhale, sweep up, warrior one. Exhaling down, all the way down. Inhaling up. Exhaling back and stepping forward so that I can inhale to the sky, warrior one. Exhaling back all the way to the ground, or halfway. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. One more, last big breath in, look towards your hands. Exhale and bend your knees, looking there, and you're empty, jump. Halfway lift, long spine inhale, and fold forward as you exhale. Chair pose, sinking our hips, lifting our arms, inhale, exhaling to Tadasana. So now at this point, we're warm. You're feeling it in there. That's our tapas, that's our inner drive, our passion, all of that keeps us motivating and going. We want to keep that. Invite that heat. Love that heat. So here's a different version of Sun B for you. So we have inhaling to chair. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, high to low. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Now take an inhale, send that foot high so that as you exhale, you step forward. Inhale, warrior one. Exhaling, lowering down. Inhaling, upward facing. Exhaling, downward facing. Inhale the left foot high to the sky, and exhale, step forward. Inhale, sweep up high. Exhale, frame that foot. Oh, stepping back, upward facing, and downward facing. Coming back to that breath for 3 breaths. Last breath in, looking towards the hands, exhaling, completely bending our knees, jumping, halfway lift, inhale, exhale, fold forward, inhale, chair pose, and Tadasana, exhaling. All right, that was a good warm-up. So then from there, normally you do your standing poses. But I just wanted to do a little tutorial with you tonight, breakdown of half a Sun A, and Sun B. I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you all soon. Thank you. Namaste.